Lock the door.
Mm-mm.
Come on in. Push it.
Shalom,
No, brother. You wanna come in?
You have your Bible?
Huh?
Do you have your Bible?
Yeah, I got my book.
Okay. I need you to read.
Okay.
Ahmad Wa, Panyawa Yerushalayim, stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the Sabbath. Barakatah Yahweh, Basham, Yehoshua, Yashareb, Latam Lanawa, HaKadash, Bashalawam, Tawada, Aman. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the new moon and peace. Thank you, so be it. The Alim Asharai Machad, Psalms 121. Anya Harayam Mayim Yim Ye Oh Harayam Mayan Yebawa Azorye Yebawa Mayahuwa Shai Shemayim Waratazah La'ab Yenathan Lamawat Regalia Yela Yenawam Shashomarka Hanela Yenawam Wala Yeshan Shashomar Yeshrele Yehawah Shamaria Yehawah Tazalia Ayo Yem Yawamam Hashemash La Hakaya Wayarak La Balayela Yahweh Yashamaria Makov Rai Yashama Napashe Yahweh Yashama Habalakye Wabawaye my third wa I will Hashem Yehoshua for what Amen. So Psalms 121.
Psalms 121. Psalms 121. I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heavens and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keeps thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keeps Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. Thy Lord is thy shade upon the right hand. The sun shall smile thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve the soul. The Lord shall preserve the going out and thy coming in from this time forth, even forevermore.
And say Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Shema Yasharallah, hero Israel. Deuteronomy 6 and 4.
Can we read that?
Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahweh, Echad.
Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Deuteronomy 6, chapter 4th verse. It says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love.
Then say Amen. And just say Amen once you finish.
Okay. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God is one Lord, and thou shalt.
Once you finish the verse, say Amen.
Amen. Each verse?
Yeah. But just Deuteronomy 6 and 4.
Oh. Deuteronomy 6, chapter 4th verse. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, is one Lord. Amen.
Amen. Tapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer, Matthew 6 and 9. Abiyanawa Shabbat Shemayim Kodash Hayya Shamka Yahweh Malakwafka Taba'a Ratazawanka Hayya Aisha Baratiza Kaba Shemayim Natamanawa Lacham Yawam Zad Wasalak Lanawa Kabawak Nawa Kasalak Nawa Kabawak Yanawa Wala Abiyar Nawa Oh Nasayawan Abo Hawashai Nawa Marai Kaya Laka Hamalakwa Wa Allah wa thaparat wa walam man.
Matthew what?
6 and 9.
Matthew chapter 6, 9th verse. It speaks. After the manner therefore, pray, ye our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, as we forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Ha'aishara Matazawaf, the 10 Commandments. Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. And you want to stop at 17. Let's start at Exodus 20 and 3.
So the 20 and
Start at 20 and 3. You're going to stop at 17.
okay.
La'ab, Yahayab, Lakab, Alahayam, Akharim, Alpanyab, La'ab, Baishab, Lakab, Pasol, Wala'ab, Thibadam, La'ab, Talakwakaf, Shamwab, Yahweh, Alahayakab, Lashawab, Zakar, Af, Hayawam, Hashabaf, Lakodashwab, Kabad, Abiyakab, Wa Amakab, La'ab, Taratazak, La'ab, Thana'ab, La'ab, Taganab, La'ab, Tainab, Shakur, La'ab, Tachamad, Ko, Asherat, Lara'ika, Amen.
Amen. Exodus 20 and 3. Way down to 17. Exodus 20 and 3. It said, Thou shalt have no other God before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any grave image or any likeness of anything that is heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. But I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the father upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and true mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandment. Thou shalt not take thy name, thy Lord God, in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless, but take his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shall thy labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God, and if thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor that manservant, nor that maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor that stranger that in the gates, For in the 6th day the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that them is rested, and the 7th day where
Read that,
the
read that
Lord.
again.
Hmm?
Read that again, slower.
For in the 6th day the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that in them is, and rested. The 7th day wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, nor thy shaft, nor covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor. Amen.
Amen. Shabbat, be seated. Good.
Pretty good first time, huh?
Yeah, very good.
Show one, huh? Show one, walk. Show one, bro. Show one, bro.
Barakathe Hawa by Shimi Hawashai, Asheran Tananawa, Parya Gapan Thawada Aman. La Yahweh by Shimi Hawashai, Af Yasher. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. At Madwa, upon your way, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Barakathe Yahweh, Haggadah, Rakawam, Abiyah, Ranawa, El Yawan, Malak, Shal, Shamayim, Warataza, Wakal, Dabarium, Kayayam, Wagam, Hamashayak, Mayahawa, Rawanawa, Ahabnawa, Apalab, Yawa Aitaza, Yahawashai, Zakarnawa, Yahuwa, Bartazawan, Ainka, Yashala, Azarnawa, Bana, Wasa, Yashala, Oh, Nanawa, Yam Yen, Aita, Kayawamyam, Makwadam, Babakusha, Shalak, Mike Allah, Watazwadak, Alahayam, La, Maganawa, Rapharnawa, Washamar, Alnawa, Bakwa, Shalak, Haruka, Shao, Yahawashai, Lanawa, Lamadnawa, Rabiam, Kakama, Tabawana, Wada I. Shal the Barka Basham Yahawashai the Wadatham Yad Why Walam Man. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember to Yahweh favorably your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel, Most High, we beg you, right now like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, always and forever, so be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law. Barakata Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, Hatawabah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us light to see. Barakata Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, Awar, Lara Awat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakata Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, Karan, Ha'ayah, La Korah, Ha'aim, Yeshabra. You see that? All right, so Shalom Yasharella. Shalom Yasharella.
Shalom.
Okay. All by myself here? You see, I wish I said Shalom back. All right, so Shalom everybody here in the Philly school. Shalom everybody watching us on live stream. Shalom everybody listening to us on teleconference. Welcome to our Ha Yasharella Kanas, or the Congregation of Israel, where we teach that the so-called Black, Latin, Native Americans are the 12 tribes of Israel, once lost, now found, and that we fall into a lower state, politically, economically, even religiously, because we broke the laws of God, found the Bible given to us by Moses. And that we come out of this lower state we fall into by turning back to these commandments we broke, by following Jesus Christ as our example. One way we do that is by keeping high holy days the Lord ordained to be kept continually throughout their years. And tonight we're keeping the new moon, right? Which we know, as we read in the scriptures, is an indicator of the time of year that we're in, right? By telling the time of month that we're in. And we use the new moon to discuss or to point out when to keep certain feasts as they come in their respective season. So we're in the fourth new moon, which is a new moon. It's usually in the warmer time of the year, in the springtime going into the summer. As we see in times past, different events that took place during the time of the fourth new moon, which we'll quote so that you can read those scriptures sometime during this day, just so you can kind of have some background and think, okay, during this time, many years ago, this was going on in Israel, or this is going on with our people, where we may have been scattered at around this time of year. So first, we'll go to Numbers. chapter 10 and verse 10. And then what I'll do is I'll ask you, brothers, if you have a new moon verse that you can share. Since we know the new moon is probably the high holy day we go through the most, save the Sabbath. Sabbath service being the most frequent. So Numbers chapter 10 and verse 10. And it reads, also in the day of your gladness and in your solemn days and in the beginning of your months, you shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God. Right? Letting us know that what we were to come together during our solemn days, it tells you, and in the beginnings of our months, which is the time we're keeping right now, the new moon. Right? So one scripture among many we can go to show the new moon, to show its significance and show how we kept it in ancient times as far as our ancestors. I'm so sorry, I'm going so fast. I forgot to give my usual salutation. If folks don't know already, my name is Nabia Zerubbabel. I'll be presiding over the new moon service tonight. Write down for your notes at the top of the paper that it is June the 12th, 2018, according to the Gregorian calendar. And according to our calendar, it's the 4th month and the 1st day. So June 12th, 2018, 4th month and the 1st day.
That's our calendar, right?
Right, it's the 4th month and the 1st day on the Hebrew calendar. Yeah, I meant to mention it earlier. So yeah, Numbers 10 and 10, key new moon verse that we can read.
Same year.
Yeah, we won't go so much into the year. Like that's we really won't know that until Christ comes back. But we just speak on millenniums as far as every 1,000-year period. We speak as far as 1,000-year periods. But so yeah, we know this is the year of this, a year of that. We can't really do that.
So there's the 6th month, and now it's the 4th month. In
Right.
Hebrew, right?
Right. We just know that we're in roughly the between the 12th and the 13,000th year of creation. But that chart we know goes, and we go into that when in the priest test, where we talk about the days of the Lord. So we're like in the 12th day since creation began.
This going back to Adam?
Before Adam, going into the heavens and the earth, the light.
That's how far back.
Right.
Oh, okay. And you said about 12,000 years?
That's 4,000.
Yeah, if you have more questions on that, just let me know after we finish. I can show you in the priest test. That's part of the questions. And then we have the answer key too.
That's our priest test?
Okay. So Numbers 10 and 10. So Akpathak, Mawak. Give us another new moon verse. Say I'm someone who has no idea about the new moon. Where would you tell me to read? And you can use your notes if you like, but maybe you might know one offhand that you normally read to show somebody.
It's been quite a while. Can you get them all together?
Pull out your piece of paper that I gave you with all the new moons. And at the bottom of the page tells you what they did.
All right, as he finds one, Gabar, please share with us a new moon verse and edify us.
Way back.
Anyone will do. Just just except for Numbers 10 and 10, since I pulled that one already.
All right, let's go to Deuteronomy 33rd chapter, verse 14.
Right, okay.
Okay. And feel free to edify us, brother.
All right. Verse 14, right?
Interesting one.
All right, I'm gonna read it. Yeah.
I ain't getting it.
Oh, go ahead, take it down.
I get it.
Well, there's really no edification on that one there.
Well, just just share what you know, and then we'll say anything else that needs to be said on it.
Yeah.
Once the brother gets it.
Good.
All right, Deuteronomy 33 and 14. And for the precious fruits brought forth by the sun, and for the precious things put forth by the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on the edification of that verse, it's telling you that the sun, I guess, it shines on the fruits and gives the fruits their energy, and the fruits grow. And then it's saying the moon does something too. And for the precious things put forth by the moon. I guess what, the moon controls the waves in the ocean?
Oh, that's true.
And of course, it's not telling you that, but it's also a time. It's telling you, denoting a time. In 30 days going by, or a whole month is passed.
Right. So now, when you read in verse 13 here for this particular verse, unless you have something else you wanted to share.
But yeah, I have other verses.
Okay, no problem. So let's talk about this. If you read verse 13 for this one, the verse above verse 14, this is going into a prophecy, right? Dealing with the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, but it talks about them as a whole as the tribe of Joseph. Right? Because Deuteronomy 33, like Genesis 49, we know it's prophetic, talking about the things that the 12 tribes will be doing in the last days. So when you read 13, it says, and of Joseph, he said, blessed of Yahweh be his land, for the precious things of heaven, for the dew and for the deep that coucheth beneath. Then as you read down, and for the precious fruits brought forth by the sun, and for the precious things brought forth by the moon. So you go into it, this is talking about Ephraim and Manasseh, right? Because they're the two sons of Joseph. You can just write down Joshua 14 and 4, which tells you the tribe of Joseph was two tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh, right? So we know Manasseh today are called the Cubans, right? The native Cubans.
Called Cubans.
This is on the every fly, right? It's on the 12 tribes chart behind.
Okay.
So Manasseh are the Cubans, right?
Mhm.
And then the native Cubans, I should say.
Uh-huh.
And then you have Ephraim. They're the native, what we would call Puerto Ricans, right?
In Puerto Rican.
Right. But they're known, their natives are more so known as the Arawaks or the Taino
Okay.
or the Borican Indians, right? But before that, they were known as Ephraim, right?
People, so they're Puerto Rican.
Right. So the so-called Puerto Ricans. So what's going into is when you go to their islands,
Mhm.
right? They're very rich in different types of wildlife and fruits, rich in flora and fauna,
Mhm.
right? As far as plants and animals. And when it talks about at night, when you go down into the Caribbean, especially in those islands, they have certain unique animals, right? That have do things that they do at night, hence the moon.
Mhm.
Like one in particular is the coqui frog, right?
Mhm.
Where it has a specific sound that it makes. It's very unique. Where say if you have like relatives, you're talking to someone down there on the phone, it's very loud. You can hear it. If you haven't been there yourself, you'll hear it over the phone. As far as the frog and the sound that it makes at night,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And then they have a very ornate aquatic life too under the waters, right? Certain types of algae, certain types of seaweed, and even certain types of animals that are underwater. You know, it's known as one of the best or one of the most uh, luscious places to go scuba diving if you ever are into that.
Mhm.
They say, you know, along the coast of those islands is very nice. You can
Mhm.
see a lot of beautiful things you wouldn't necessarily see, you know, in the waters around here.
Okay.
Here it's talking about, like I mentioned, the flora and the fauna of the daytime and of the nighttime. So when it talks about put forth by the moon, that's what that's going into. So that's a prophecy just associated with Joseph in particular, as far as where he would be situated at in the last days, and how we know those are very very beautiful places to travel to, right? Not to say that you know they don't have their fair share of issues because we know
Mhm.
the curse will be all on any of the 12 tribes if they're not keeping the commandments.
Right.
And we see that the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh had not been able to escape that.
Mhm.
We know they just had a day parade, right? Up in New York, but we know right now it's a hot issue right now when it comes to Puerto Rico as far as the hardship they're suffering after Hurricane Maria hit them.
Um,
A lot of people are still trying to get power, still trying to get aid for certain things, right?
mhm.
Get things going again.
They still going through it, huh?
Yeah. You think if the news stops talking about that, oh, it's just over. Like there's still recovery efforts going on from the damage that took place with the Haiti earthquake.
Okay.
So people we think that oh everything is taken care of once the news stops talking about it. We just forget about it.
Yeah.
But people are still recovering from that.
Yeah. Okay.
Shit, you look at a lot of different natural disasters. There's still people recovering from things that happened decades ago,
Mhm.
let alone just a couple years ago or a couple months ago.
Right.
Yeah. But, unless you are directly affected by that, it just will be out of your mind. You won't really think about it.
Mind. Let you say that you facing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you ain't facing it, you don't have too much to worry about.
Right. Well, can't really say that because we know in the end, if one of us hurts, we all hurt, even if it's indirectly.
Mhm.
Or if one of us gets in trouble,
Hurt some kind of way, huh?
yeah, one of us gets in trouble. But Israel, it's like we wear that badge for the whole tribe. Like with other nationalities, if somebody does a crime or goes through something and says or does something, they can just say, "Oh yeah, that person, yeah, he was of this nationality, but he was just out of his or her mind."
Mhm.
Whereas one of our people does something crazy, gets in the news, and makes social media pop off.
Mhm.
They carry that for the entire tribe, right, or the entire nation,
Everybody.
right? Where it's just like this person of our nation, he represents everybody of our nation, right? And you hear certain people refer to it as we're one big Negro, right? So if somebody commits a crime, it's like
Negro.
everybody that all of our people had nothing to do with that. We looked at and go, yeah, because you guys do this because him did that. So this person, he did this. So yeah, we got to watch out for all you guys doing.
Put a mark on all of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But that's part of the curse in Deuteronomy 28:37, right?
Right.
It tells us if we didn't keep the commandments of God, it says that what will be a byword and a proverb, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we see it to be the case now. We're talked on. There's many negative racial epithets made about our people back then and now.
Mm-hmm.
Tools I mentioned Joshua 14:4, and I mentioned Deuteronomy 28:37, just on the discussion we were talking about. So, Pathak, you have a verse for us, a new moon verse?
Yeah, I have one. Psalms 104, verse 19.
Okay, let's go to it. And before the Akbar, that's a good moon scripture. But as far as a new moon scripture, that's something a bit more specific, where it's talking about something pertaining to the new moon or the time that it comes in, right? Hence that it's
Right.
new.
Something telling us to celebrate on the new moon. That's what we mean.
Right. So in amongst your verses, provides for one of those, Baba Kushad. But after if I gives us his.
All right.
But before you do, I'll share one myself. So you said Psalms 104,
verse 19.
Okay, give us a moment to get it. Give us a moment to get it.
Okay, yeah. Right.
Okay.
Anybody got it?
I have it.
Got it, Kabar?
Come on.
Okay. So come when you do.
Huh.
You got it, Malak? Okay. Psalms 104, verse 19. It speaks. He appointed the moon for season, the sun north his going down. Thou will mark it.
Yeah, that's good. So you wanted to edify us on that? What I saying?
Well, it said that the moon had its own season. The sun knows when the moon has its own season going down.
I'm saying the moon has its own season.
The moon had appointed the moon for his season.
No, 4 seasons.
For his season?
No, 4 seasons.
Right, for seasons.
Oh, appointed the moon for seasons. Okay.
Right, so what's that mean?
The moon knows when to arrive at night.
That's true, but that's not what this is saying. Just look at what it's saying.
He appointed the moon for seasons. The moon has his own time when he come up and when he go down.
That's true. But what's this verse saying specifically?
Use the word seasons in it. It's talking about the moon. It said he appointed the moon.
But before you give edification, ask him if he wants to try it again.
Okay, you want to try it again for that?
Go ahead.
Okay, so
Okay. He's saying that he appointed the moon for seasons. In other words, he made the moon to tell us what season it is, because the moon tells you that it's a new month. And if it's a new month, then the weather changes. So, and seasons got to do with the weather changing, don't it?
Mm-hmm. That's good. So does that help some with that?
Yeah.
You think you could explain that now to us? Try to put in your own words what he just said.
Yeah, like you said, the moon is was set up for the different times of the season. For when for the month come in, has its own different time to be there for the different times of the month.
It's not what he's talking about. What you're saying is true concerning the moon. When we look at it, we can see what time of month that we're in. But he's going into counting the months. That's what the bar is talking about. I'm not sure if you grasp what he said. Like, perfect example. Right now, we're in the 4th month.
Right.
So in the 4th month, we know it's the late spring going into the summer.
Okay, so that was the moon was for to identify the different seasons.
Right, that's what Gabar edified us on.
Oh, okay.
So like when we get to the fall, the 7th month, we keep the trumpets and Day of Atonement, right? Where we fast. That's when the time of the fall season, or the Feast of Ingathering, right? Where we bring in the rest of our harvest. So when this verse says he appointed the moon for seasons, it's going into knowing what time of year that we're in by counting the months. Not so much, looking in the sky every night and seeing the moon there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true. That's not what this is talking about.
It's for each month for the season that the moon will identify with.
Say it again.
Like for each season that come in, the moon will identify with that month.
Yeah.
When you count the moon, it'll identify with that season. When you count the number of moons, that's the number of months.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you know what season it will be.
Right. Okay.
Right. So a good verse, but make sure you're able to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone may ask you about the new moon, and you have your verse, which is good,
Mm-hmm.
but now you want to tell them what this is actually talking about.
Right.
They might get confused.
Right.
We're confused. Of course, we're just going to confuse anyone else
Mm-hmm.
that wants to know. Okay, so I'll get a verse, and then Gabar, I'll go back to you. And you mentioned you had other ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So let me get one. I'll go to 1 Samuel 20. I like this one.
1 Samuel 20.
Mm-hmm.
20 verse.
Chapter 20.
Yeah, chapter 20. First Samuel 20 verse.
1 Samuel 20th chapter.
Oh, right. Yeah. I see what it said. 20th chapter, 5 and 6. Oh, you got quite a bit of verses of it.
Oh, okay. Looking in your notes. Okay. Do you see that in your notes?
Yeah, I see.
Good.
Samuel verses 20th chapter, 5 and 6. And then it goes to 24 to 34.
Okay, it's a big chunk. I wasn't going to read all those, but I'm just going to read verse 5 and verse 24 to 27. All that's definitely good to read.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the history, the story of what was going on during the time of Saul when he was ruling. That's the good thing about these are called the books of history, right? Because in the scriptures you have books of the law, right? First 5 books.
Right.
And you have the books of history, which Joshua all the way to Chronicles, right?
Right.
I mean, all the way down to Esther. Those are called the books of history.
Mm-hmm.
So Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, right? Those are considered the books of history. And then from Job all the way to Song of Solomon, those are considered the books of wisdom, right?
Okay.
I never knew that.
And then after that, after Song of Solomon, you have Isaiah all the way to Malachi. Those are the prophets. Right?
So the prophets.
Right, the books of the prophets, which you could say or like history too, somewhat, because the times that they wrote, oftentimes you can connect them to the certain kings that were in the Kings and Chronicles. But then they had prophecy there too. And you'll find a little bit of everything throughout. Like you'll find wisdom in the law, right? You'll find the wisdom in the books of the law. You'll find history in the books of the law. You'll find prophecy in the books of the law, but you also find prophecy in the books of the prophets. You'll find prophecy in some of the history books. So it's like each of those sections deals with that particular thing mainly, but you'll see a little bit of everything throughout the scriptures. Like, you'll be reading, say, the first 5 books, right? Like Exodus or Leviticus. You'll be reading a section that goes into different laws, right? Then you'll read about Moses and them traveling to different places. That's a history. Then it'll switch up and they might have like a song. That's like wisdom now. Now you're going into like the songs that they sung after they left Egypt or something.
It's wisdom.
Right. So that's like Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, right? So now you have that aspect going on. Even Jeremiah, right? You have his book of the prophecy, which is the book of Jeremiah.
Right.
But then you have the Lamentations of Jeremiah, which is a song, but it's prophetic too. So it's, it's very nuanced. It overlaps itself sometimes. But generally speaking, when you look in the scriptures, that's the way it's structured. Law, the history, the wisdom, and the prophets, or the prophecy. That's why when we teach, we'll say, yeah, the Bible, it's a book of law, a book of history, a book of wisdom, right, and understanding. And it's also a book of prophecy. It's all those things. So yeah, 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 5. And it reads, and David said unto Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go that I might hide myself in the fields until the 3rd day at even. So David talking to Jonathan, who was King Saul's son, right?
Right.
He said, tomorrow's the new moon. So the next day is going to be the new moon. So the day before the new moon was coming in at that time years ago. I should not fail to sit with the king at meat because he was part of Saul's household, right? He was his armor bearer. He was nigh unto him. But he's not sitting down with him because he knows and sees that Saul has an evil spirit troubling him now.
Right.
Right? Because he didn't obey the Lord when they fought with Amalek.
Right. So
And
that spirit is on you, that evil spirit.
right. And it's tempting him to want to slay David. David's aware of this. So he said, let me not sit down because I don't want to go there. And then he tries to take me out. Right. That's what he's telling Jonathan.
Oh, that's what he's telling Jonathan. Jonathan's his brother, ain't he?
No, that's Saul's son.
Oh, that's Saul's son. Okay.
They were like brothers, even though they weren't, the same immediate family.
Okay.
There's even a scripture that says, there's a friend that sticketh closer than a brother.
Okay.
So
Jonathan and David.
So Jonathan and David, they had a very tight bond that, you could argue that it even rivaled even the bond he may have had with his own flesh and blood brethren, sons of Jesse. They're really close when you read the scriptures.
Oh, okay.
So it can happen like that sometimes. Certain souls are kindred, certain souls are knit more than others. Okay, so let's jump forward to verse 24. So 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 24. It says, so David hid himself in the field, just like he told Jonathan he would. It says, and when the new moon was come, the king sat him down to eat meat. So they're sitting down to have a feast like they would normally do. Verse 25, and the king sat upon his seat as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And you go to like a king's court, right? Or, even like a family's house or an estate, they may have a big table, right? And then, the head of the table is typically where the father sits, right?
Yeah.
Or the head of household, they usually sit at the Right. That's why it says, you know, he had a seat by the wall. So seating, you know, have there was purpose behind seating and how certain folks would sit. Him being the king, obviously. It says, and Jonathan arose and Abner sat by Saul's side. So Abner was Saul's captain of the host.
So he was the captain.
He was his top general, right? So he had a seat right next to Saul, which makes sense. It says, and David's place was empty. So David wasn't there. Jonathan knows, but Saul doesn't. That's why Saul says this. 26. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he thought something had befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean. So he figured, okay, David became unclean by whatever means. He came across a dead body, or he's unclean due
That's
to
what he thinks.
right. For whatever ways he could become unclean.
Right.
He thought that might have been the reason why he didn't come, because he's pretty diligent, right? He shows up, you know, for the holy days.
Right.
So he's like, okay, that's probably the reason why he didn't come. 27. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month. I like this verse because it lets you know right there, just by what did it say? Inductive reasoning or deductive reasoning. If the morrow after the new moon was the second day of the month, that means that the new moon has to be the first day of the month, right? Makes sense, right? Confused?
Say it again?
I said, if the morrow was the second day of the month, that means the new moon would have to be what day of the month? Right. That's all we're saying. So it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. Jonathan, his son, wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet neither yesterday nor today? So now he's asking Jonathan, and 2 days has gone by, we haven't seen David. What's the deal? Where's he at? Of course, as you read down, it goes more into the story. But Akabar, if you could share another verse with us, Baba Kushal, and then Pathak after him.
Okay.
And give us the edification, or give us the sense and cause us to understand the reading, like it says in Nehemiah.
All right, let's go to the Apocrypha, the Ecclesiasticus, verse 43.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, not verse 43, but chapter 43.
Okay.
Come.
Verses 6 to 9.
Good.
You have them a lot? 43. Right. Ecclesiasticus chapter 43, verses 6 through 9. Says, he made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of peace, a light that decreases in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. Let's go with the first verse first. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. So the moon, with the moon comes a new season. and it's declaring a time period. And it's a sign of the world. And it'll tell you what time it is. Because every moon means that a certain amount of days is going by. Every time it's a new moon, we went deeper in time. Time has ticked 30 more days or somewhere around that era.
I think the number is 29 and a half is on average. The new moon is on average 29 and a half days.
29 and a half days.
When you average it out, because like you said, it's not always the same.
Right. 28 days for leap year.
Well, I'm more so going into the basing the month as opposed using the moon as opposed to the sun to determine the length of months, or the length of months, right? Like the Gregorian calendar. When you count according to the lunar calendar, it's on average 29 and a half days. You just put that in your notes if someone has a question about it.
29 and a half days.
Right, on average. Because when you look at the new moons that go by, some have 30 days, some have 29 days, some have 31 days, right? So it's not always the same.
There's only one with 28.
I don't think they usually have 28.
I thought it was February.
No, I'm talking about the lunar month,
Oh, the lunar.
not the solar month.
Oh, okay.
That's why when brothers were coming out with that whole doctrine about the moon, the new moon starting a week, you really can't do it, because if it was supposed to be a perfect 28 days, right? Think about it. If the new moon, say the new moon came in today, right? We know it's the, what, 4th day of the week, right? When the sun set today, it became the 4th day of the week. So if this were to start the new week and say, okay, the new moon, which means it's the 1st day of the week, right? If you count up all the days from now till the 5th new moon, it's going to be, what, 29, 30, 31 days, right? Somewhere in there. But now, if we know a week has 7 days, right? That means that if there's, say there's 29 days in this month, there's going to be a day left over hanging out there. Because we know when we say a month is roughly about 4 weeks, we say roughly because we know it's not exactly 4 weeks. Because 4 weeks is 28 days.
28 days.
7 times 4.
7 times 4, right.
So to say the week and the month start at the same time, that means every month you always got a day or two hanging on the end. So does that mean the last week of the month has 8 days or 9 days? Or do you take that last day and then you add an hour to, to 1 day each week? So how do you figure that? So that's the thing you have to really ask yourself when people, well, brothers will bring that out and say, yeah, the new moon begins the week. This doesn't make sense, doesn't add up. The week has its own thing based on the 7th day of the week, that begins in the week. But the month can come in at different times of the week. It varies, right? And we just look in the sky and we can see, oh, okay, new moon's coming in. It's not always the same day of the week. But yeah, if you brothers ever hear that, bring it to the class if you have trouble explaining to a brother. Not to say that the brother or sister will receive it, but at least make sure you can bring that out clearly to someone.
Give some kind of understanding.
Yeah, just.
So we're not sure if the new moon starts the 1st day of the week.
What we're saying is we know that it can't be the starter of the 1st day of the week, because if it is, that means that you're always going to have a day or two left over hanging out at the end of each month. And how do you explain
So
that?
you got to go into first, go about the 2nd week or something like that. Moon start.
Right. There's going to be 1 week in that month. If that's the case, there's always going to be 1 week in that month that's going to be more than 7 days, which we know is, it's just not true. There's no 8-day weeks.
Right. It's only 7 days.
Right.
Well, it's something to discuss.
So that means that the Sabbath of that week might have to be the 8th day or the 9th day. And it's like, that's crazy, because we know the 7th day is always the Sabbath. So the week is one thing. The month is something else. The point is that the month can start any day of the week. Sometimes it can start on the Sabbath, but not necessarily. That's the truth. Like I said, that's a doctrine, but we just want to make sure we're able to prove that it's not the case. That's all we're talking about. Or all we're trying to bring out here. So you can continue in verse 7.
All right, verse 7 of chapter 43 of Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. From the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreases in her perfection. The month.
Oh, you're gonna.
You may elaborate on verse 7?
Yes.
Okay. It's saying that it's the sign of feast. So I'm assuming that it's telling us this is when we have our feast.
Yeah. You know how?
And we talk about the new moon feast or all the feasts?
All the feasts,
Okay.
including the new moon. You know,
Including the new moon.
you know how, right?
Because it's telling what time it is.
Right. Like, give me an example of a high holy day without a high holy day that's not the new moon where this applies.
Well, the new moon is the beginning of the month.
Right.
So you count, you know, when the Bible tells you what how holy days to count, and you normally counting from that month. So the new moon tells you what months it is, and then you count the number of days it tells you from the beginning of the month to get your high holy day.
Yeah, pretty much. Like Passover. It's
Right.
the first month and the 14th day at even.
Right.
Right? It's like you said. Okay, we're in the first month, the first new moon. 14 days, like you said, count down to 14 days. Even, sunset. There it is. Or Memorial blowing the trumpets. The 7th new moon. So you count 7 months. And then the first day of that month is the Memorial blowing the trumpets. So that's like you said, a sign of feast. You just use the moon to pinpoint what month that you're in. And then you count the days by just observing sunset. It's good.
All right.
Did you want to explain the light that the light that decreases her perfection?
Okay, a light that decreases in her perfection. Okay, you're looking at the new moon, and it's like a light up there in the sky. It's not as bright as the sun, but it's a light for the night.
Right.
Now it says it decreases in her perfection. In other words, what? The dimmer it gets, the more perfect it is? How does that go?
What do you think, Pathat, when this is a light that decreases in her perfection? What do you think that means?
More bright.
More brighter? Okay, be more specific.
It give you, let you know the time is when the time is of the new moon.
Right, that's more the first precept. But the second precept, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. When it says decreaseth, what's that going into?
Give you, let you know, give you a clear more understanding about the new moon.
I mean, generally, yes, but specifically, light that decreaseth in her perfection. What's that talking about?
Whatever it means, it sounds beautiful. I just want to add that.
I agree.
Because it's shining from the firmaments of the heaven.
It is, but when it says decreaseth, what does it mean to decrease? Anybody?
To get dimmer.
To get dimmer. Okay.
It's not as bright.
Okay.
Less and less brightness.
Not as bright. Okay.
But it appears that the lesser and lesser it's not bright, it seems like it's perfection. The more perfection it is, the lesser the light is bright. That's all I can understand.
Okay, so when we say dimmer, what do we mean when we say it gets dimmer?
Well, when I say decreases, I'm assuming to decrease means to get dimmer, because he talked about light.
Right. So what's another way to explain the moon getting dimmer? How else could we describe that? Something about the moon and its perfection that it does.
It will change.
It changes. What do you mean when you say change?
Different times the moon make its own different changes
Mm-hmm.
to give you a thorough understanding what you understand about the new moon.
Okay, so from right to left, I guess that's how it's decreasing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it starts out what, like a quarter of what it can be? You say a quarter?
How would it look right now, today?
Just like a half a C?
Mm-mm.
Oh, well, it's black. It's
Yeah.
totally black.
Right.
Right, dim, it's dark.
So yeah, that's when the new moon gets. New moon really come in. When the new moon really come in, it gets real dark,
Entirely dark. Yeah.
totally dark. When it's not, then you see the light shining.
Right.
Because different parts of the new moon come in, and that's when you know that they have a certain amount of time that they combine together.
Mm-hmm. Let me. I hope both you brothers out. When it says decreases, what it's talking about is the phases of the moon. The moon going through its phases, but specifically when the moon wanes. Write that down.
What does that mean?
Wanes, it means when, like you said, it gets dimmer, or that it's going through phases from the time of the full moon to the next new moon, so the second half of the month. Because every week, we know the moon has a certain milestone, right? Like a week from now, the right half will be lit, like you said, right to left. In 2 weeks, it'll be completely full. 3 weeks, it'll be the left half will be lit, and then after about 4 weeks, give or take, we'll get back to a new moon again. So from the time of the full moon, the next 2 weeks, that's when the light decreases. Because you can't get any more light than full.
Right.
After that, it decreases. But when you say dimmer, like that might not be always clear. Like think of a light, right? Say the whole thing is lit, like the full moon is lit.
Right.
When the moon doesn't stay fully lit, and then it's just every day it looks like it's not shining as bright.
Okay.
That's not what's happening. It still shines just as bright. It's only part of it that's shining. You see, because you're going through the phases.
So you don't even notice only part of it's going to shine, not all of it.
That's where you get into, like you were saying, the crescent moon and the waning gibbous and all those fancy names they have for each phase of the moon. So when it says a light that decreases in imperfection, it's talking about what happens from the time of the full moon till the end of the month, which is going to bring you into another new moon. So when it says a light that decreases, it's talking about the phase that it goes through where it becomes dark again on the right side and it spreads. And you get what they call, at the 3 weeks, you get what they call the last half, right?
Well, which one will be the full moon? 2 weeks or
Yeah.
at the beginning of the month?
The middle of the month.
That would be the full moon.
That's when it shows
The whole thing
shows the
illuminated.
colors.
Right.
That when it shows the colors at the middle of the month.
The whole circle.
Right.
The whole circle, right.
Exactly.
Or sphere.
Exactly. Whole sphere. So that's where it's like a full piece of pizza, as opposed to, second half. Well, let's say the third week, you see that it's like the half a pizza where the left half is there, but the right half isn't.
Oh, okay.
That's when, from the full moon going forward, that's when it decreases. And when it says in her perfection, this is going into its perfect, the way that it does its cycle every month.
Okay.
Oh, that's the perfection.
Right. It does it every time in the perfect fashion.
Without missing.
Exactly. And make sure, like you read earlier in Deuteronomy, that it hooks up to different places in the earth. Whether it's the tides over here, or the animals know to come out here in this place. Certain animals, they're nocturnal. They make certain moves based on the moon's function. Just like certain animals know how to move based on the sun's motion daily and even throughout the year, right? Like we know with the geese, right? They know when to go south based on the moon, based on the sun, based on the season.
Right, so they know what to do when they don't see.
So they know, oh, okay, we're getting later in the year. It's time for us to go down south, right?
Right.
So there's something that's in them that knows, okay, they peep the seasonal change, and how the Earth's magnetic field changes based on seasons. They know to move down south now, or to come up north based on those times. We know over the years you've been seeing the seasons come together, right? That's part of the prophecy you read. I think it's in Amos. It says, "I will smite the summer house with the winter house." In other words, we've seen like October, November, it's like 80 degrees. Like, what the heck? We get like this weird couple days sometimes, like in the fall or close to winter, where it's like real hot. And you're like, it's not supposed to be that here in the Northeast, I could see that happening down, in Florida or something. But up here, that's kind of weird. But that's all part of what the Most High said would happen in the earth.
That the different seasons are going to change.
And they'll come together. It'll generally still have the seasons, but it won't be in that perfect order, because why? The earth is corrupt because of the choices the people in power are making.
Okay.
Right?
So it's going to be corrupted. It's going to be some summer and some winter.
I'll mention the verses real quick before you break down the next one.
Okay.
As far as smiting the summer house with the winter house, that's in Amos.
Amos.
Even what we've been seeing these last week or so, right? It's like June, but then we had some couple cold days in there, right? Where it's like, oh, man, I got to grab my jacket. I mean, technically we're still in the springtime, so it's not too weird. But, we've gotten down to 50s and even 40s in June.
What?
I'm about to tell you now. So Amos, chapter 3. So chapter 3?
We're here 885.
Oh, here we go. Chapter 3 and verse 15.
On chapter 2, 15.
I'm just referring to that. Amos 3 and 15, where it says, "And I will smite the winter house with the summer house, and the house of ivory shall perish, and the great houses shall have an end, saith Yahweh." And you see that word house, it has different definitions, right? You sometimes see it as mansions.
Okay.
But house and mansion, you'll see that phraseology, not only in scripture, but you'll see that used to refer to a certain time of year, right? Or like a certain month in the year. It'll be called a house.
They'll call it that.
Like even when we talk about the so-called zodiac, which is a perversion from the actual zodiac, right? Where we had a pure understanding of it before we transgressed, like tribe of Issachar, Zebulun, even Solomon. Like there was a time we could look in the heavens and see the scriptures up there, see the Most High's will in the heavens.
At one time.
Right, but due to our transgression, that wisdom's been taken away. We've been given we only work with a counterfeit version of that, with what we call the zodiac, or the animal wheel, where they'll say
different names of the animals to try to identify you with it.
With different constellations.
Oh, okay.
But you'll see them mentioned in Job, as far as looking up there and being able to discern based on what you see up there, what's going to happen.
Well, a lot of people, identify with the different names, or whether you're Leo or Lion or like that, you know what I mean? And thinking that, you supposed to, describe yourself as that.
Right. So that's why they'll say the house of Aries, the house of Taurus, the house of Gemini. It's talking about that time of month as you go around the year. So when you see that word house, it has different definitions. What was the other verse I mentioned besides smiting the summer house with the winter house? What else did I say?
Amos.
That's the one in Amos, but I thought it was something else I mentioned too, based on what we're talking about. Right? Oh yeah, the defiling of the earth. This is important to know too. So it shows that the choices that mankind makes, our nation, other nations, especially those that be in power, it affects everything else. Everybody else is under that command. So it can either bless the creation or it can corrupt the creation. The choices that men and women make, namely those that are in chief authority. That's why it says this in Isaiah. Isaiah 24. Isaiah 24, verse 5 and verse 6. Which reads, just write it down, you have to get it.
Okay.
It says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant.
Yeah.
The earth is defiled under the inhabitants. Because they're not dealing with the righteousness of God, because the laws of God tell you how to be at peace with your own body, with your own possession, whether it be the land you live on, the house you built, the animals you may have rule over, right? It may provide you with food, clothing, right?
This is corruption.
And how to deal with other people that live next to you. But if you're not dealing with the law, now the earth becomes defiled, like we see today.
So
That's
we
why
can say that.
Oh.
So we can say that those three sons of Noah were given some type of law, and they had to be because they was under Noah.
Yeah, and we know Noah was a righteous man.
Right. So there was some type of law there, if they chose to go their own way.
Oh,
They
his
become
son,
evil.
Noah's sons.
Yeah.
Right.
What was his three sons' name?
That's a good question.
Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Ham, and Japheth?
Japheth.
Okay.
Japheth, Japheth, whatever you want to say.
Right. And we see that that original way was preserved through Shem going down to his descendant Eber. That's where we get Hebrew. Hebrew comes from Eber, or in the Hebrew, Ibar, which means my past or of the past. Because going into what we did before. I remember the last week at camp, going back and forth with the Black Panther brother, which a lot of folks have a hard time with this. They say, oh, that Bible only doesn't go back to the, to the ancient civilizations, but it talks about things that took place before Moses wrote it, right? It even goes to the original names of the people that live in different places, which these other books, they only back up, right? Like one we always like to hone in on is what we call Africa, right? We know that's a so-called white Roman general, right? But before that, they'll say, oh yeah, it wasn't Africa before, it was Kemet. You say, yeah, you're right, but now where does that Kemet come from? Because Kem, you'll see it spelled K-H-E-M-E-T, right? Or sometimes K-E-M-E-T. That actually comes from Ham's name, because Ham in the Hebrew it's a cha and a ma, Cham. That's where you get your Kem or Kemet from. Just like you talk to Ethiopians, they'll say, yeah, the Greeks gave us that name. It means burnt face, right? That's what Ethiopia means, burnt face. They saw, how dark they were and gave them that name.
We call them burnt face.
But before that, they'll say Kush. We were known as Kush. You go, even here in Philly, you go up to, Abyssinia town over there in University City, right? They got their little section there, right? Like in the 40s and like pine and walnut, right? And you call them Kush, they're just like, yeah. Like they acknowledge Kush. But Kush comes from the Hebrew, Kawash. So that was their original name.
Kawash.
Right. That's the ancient Hebrew for Kush.
Which means?
I'm not sure what Kush means. I have to look it up.
But this name Ethiopian is what?
That's new. That's something the Greeks gave them much later.
Oh.
Even before Abyssinia, they were known as Kush. Like I said, Kush is just the English rendering of Kawash. And you go back to Genesis, what's there? It tells you Kush, who came out of Ham or Cham, begat Nimrod, right? So Nimrod was a Ethiopian.
He's Ethiopian?
Yeah, dark-skinned Ethiopian, a mighty man for his time. So that's one of their ancestors.
Nimrod, huh?
So when you see how they are now and how they look, it gives you an idea of, okay, these are what the original Babylonians look like.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think the white man mixed the seed with them? Did you think that's the way they used to look?
Not too far from it.
I think it's conditioned how far in different areas was being changed.
A lot of them ain't real black. A lot of them is like brown.
Yeah, I mean, it's like any nation, any nation of color. They're always going to range, even without mixing with Esau. They're not all going to be super dark. That's been that way since, going way back. Even you look at old slavery photos. Sometimes you see dark skin, but other times you might see brown complexion of slaves taken from the Western coast.
Mm-hmm.
Before the raping happened with the master in many cases.
So that brings different identification of the look.
Yeah, we were different shades of brown even before being brought over.
Mm-hmm. Then when the rape came in,
some tribes they looked a certain way for a while because they mixed going back. Like for the northern tribes, a lot of them that mixed with the Assyrians at one point during the Assyrian captivity. That's why it tells you in Hosea, Ephraim had mixed himself with the people. Mm-hmm. Ephraim is a cake not turned. It calls on that because when you bake a cake, the top is dark, right? And underneath it's lighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have that right because the top is the part getting exposed to the heat.
The heat, yeah. So that makes it dark.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part underneath make it lighter.
Mm-hmm. So that's why when we just look at complexions, you can't just go off of that by itself, because we've been around the block. We've been captive in many nations and taken many things away, mm-hmm. including marrying their sons and daughters over generations. But all in all the nations from that time up until now have still been preserved because everybody doesn't mix with everybody. You may see that a little bit here and there, especially in like urban areas, right? Mm-hmm. Or you might see it in TV a lot. They push it.
Right.
But you look at most of the majority of nationalities, they marry into their own tribe. They marry into their own nation. Mm-hmm. That's just, you have that across the board as a predominant thing. But the way they'll sell it like, everybody's
mixed up.
Everyone's mixed up.
We don't know who was who because we all mixed in.
Right. And that's not the case. We look at the numbers. But anyway, let me read verse 6. Isaiah 24:6. It says, "Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth." You already wrote it down. I read verse 5. I have to read 6 now.
Okay, go ahead.
"Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Mm-hmm. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left." Right? So this is what destroys us: the sin, the transgression. Mm-hmm. Right? This is what causes us to age and get old. Right? It all ties back to us keeping the law or breaking it. Because if we keep the law perfectly, we will never get old.
We broke the law, that's why we age. Mm-hmm.
You get stricken, right? Or it's hard to walk, or we get crooked back, right? Or our vision fails. Mm-hmm. That's why you read with Moses. Even though he wasn't completely perfect, he was a righteous man, right? Nigh unto the Lord, to where it tells you when he was 120 years old, when he finally gave the ghost, it says that his eye never got dim, nor his natural force abated. Mm-hmm. So he had like the constitution of like a man in his prime, even at 120 when he died. Okay. So imagine that. You think of someone 120 years old, it's like, wow, like today, wow, they're still alive. And then if they can actually walk without a cane, that's like amazing, right? Mm-hmm. Someone that old, they're usually like in a chair or something, right?
Yeah,
wheelchair, or got like a electronic chair now. Mm-hmm. Got some kind of cane or a walker or something.
Yeah.
It tells you Moses at 120. This guy was like an NBA player in his top form.
You have to ask the question, what he died of? You know what I mean?
What did Moses die of?
Well, I mean, we all sin. We all fall short of the glory of God.
Right.
And, Mosiah, he decides when it's our time to go. Anyway.
Right.
So right. You took him on out.
Yeah, he wasn't entirely perfect. I mean, only Christ did that. Mm-hmm. Right. But that says a lot for that man Moses. The fact that he, at 120, he was still Not to mention just the community he had with the Heavenly Father, that played a part of him too.
Right, I believe that. Because he was up on the mountain, his face, I believe he got some time when his face took a shine.
Yeah. So this is going into like what we really can be, who we really are as men and women.
Right.
And it's so sad the fact that we think that, oh yeah, I lived to be 70. I lived a full life. When it's like we're supposed to be just getting started at 70.
Okay.
We think 70 is like, yeah, I lived a full life. We don't realize because of sin, the life's been cut down so short. We're supposed to be around for hundreds of years, millennia. Like Adam living to be 900 something, that's how it's supposed to be. But that's so far removed from us now. Like we think that making it to 100 is amazing, but it's really not.
At that particular time, Adam, he lived that long, huh?
You go into Genesis. It tells you how long all the patriarchs lived. And as it goes down to Noah, it gets, and then from Noah to Abraham, it gets like shorter and shorter and shorter. But I think the person who lived the longest, I think was Methuselah. I think he lived to be 969.
Okay.
Imagine that, being in the earth for almost 1,000 years. We talk about that now. People think, oh, is that vampires, right? You think about the vampire movies,
Right.
vampire stories.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, he's a man, flesh and blood, in the earth that long because of the way they thought and the way that they dealt with the creation. They were in tune a lot throughout. We're about to finish up anyway. Throughout it. We're in tune. They were in tune with the Most High to where they lived that long. And of course, we got situations with Enoch where, his level of righteousness, both sides, was it 365 years? He said, you know what? I'm just going to take you up with me. I can have you live longer on the earth, but no, based on how, your conduct, right? And your measure of faith, I'm just going to take you up to me. I'm not going to have you die a natural death. And that, we talk about that stuff now. People say, oh, that's some fairy tale stuff. That's silly. Don't nobody die like that. Right?
He must have been pretty sharp, huh?
Yeah.
Pretty righteous. He had been pretty righteous, come on. Most High took him with him.
Yeah, he was sharp anytime he translated him.
That's a high honor. Second, was it the only thing close to that is dying a martyr's death for truth. That's what makes Yahushua so heavy, because with Yahushua, when he came, he had both. He died the martyr's death and was translated.
Translated that.
Because we went back to the Father after he resurrected and in the Bible with the disciples for 40 days. Then he said, I'm going up into the cloud. He went up into the cloud like how Elijah did, or like how Enoch did.
Okay.
He was translated. Then he said, same way I'm going up, same way I'm going to come back.
That's how he's going to come back.
So I'm going up into the chariot, right, into the cloud. When I come back, when he comes back with the army, he's coming back that way.
Coming with the chariot.
So I know we're kind of talking about a number of things, but I think it's all going back to long life. First, basically what we see here, why the earth is defiled. And it's so sad because, Esau, he'll push sin because, he himself is of the vine of Sodom and Gomorrah. But what he'll do is he'll try to use physical means, technology, to make his flesh last longer, to preserve himself. Kind of like what he does with fruits and vegetables.
Right.
He'll tamper with them.
Yeah.
Try to change their color, genetically modify them, right? He tries to do the same thing with his flesh.
Okay.
So that he can live longer, be younger longer.
Right.
You see like different sci-fi movies and concepts talking about transferring your thoughts, your brain pattern into a new body when this one gets old, or trying to change this one using gene splicing and cybernetics. But that all could be avoided just by dealing with the law. You don't realize that this body can do it by itself. We're just righteous in the spirit. This body won't decay. You won't have to hack it up and mess with it to make it live longer. They don't realize it's how they live their lives is what kills them. So they want to live forever, but not realizing spiritually they kill themselves every day by just the way they think. And based on those thoughts and feelings, the choices that they make, the perversions they partake in.
That would destroy you,
That's what destroys all of us, the sin. They turn themselves into vampires.
But it got that movie, Vampire.
Yeah, I mean, the concept is it's
Living Dead.
yeah, exactly. It's kind of the art imitating life, kind of like a poetic gesture describing the real.
Mhm.
And that's kind of some other stuff too. We won't go into that now, but you got some of them that get into this weird stuff where they actually do drink blood where you're not supposed to. But it's kind of crazy. But
It is cool.
you got a lot of stuff that the Esau on the left hand side are up to, doing spiritual wickedness in high places.
Mhm.
But that's Isaiah 24, 5 and 6.
Yeah.
About why the earth is defiled.
Mhm.
Now, nature is thrown off course.
What's in this family?
Mm-hmm. So now, let's get one more verse and then we'll finish up.
Hmm.
So I think, Gabar, you got two, right?
Yeah.
Ezekiel 46, 1 and 8.
Okay, so that's yours, Pathat?
Mm, mhm.
Yeah, I think we all got two.
Okay, Ezekiel what?
46, 1 and 8. You get it.
1 through 8 or 1 in it?
1 and 8.
I heard you first. Mhm.
All right, once you have that, feel free to give us the understanding.
And finally, now. Ezekiel. Ezekiel 46, 1 and 8. That's what I'm saying, right? And 22.
For the sake of time, if you could just break down verses 1 to 3,
All right.
so we can close out.
Ezekiel 46, 1 to 3. Thus said the Lord God, the gates of the inner court that looketh toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it shall be open, and the day of the new moon it shall be open.
Mm-hmm.
And the prince shall enter by the way of the porch of that gate without, shall stand by the post of the gate, and the priest shall bear his burnt offering and his peace offering, and he shall worship at the threshold of the gate, that he shall go forth, but the gate shall not be shut until the evening. 3. Likewise, the people of the land shall worship at the door of the gate before the Lord, and the Sabbath and the new moon.
Right. So, as a few words as possible. Try to explain those verses.
It says, okay, it says here, the Sabbath, the Lord God, the gates will be open to have the Sabbath, and shall for the 6 working days. But the Sabbath shall open the doors for the new moon, and it shall open. And the prince shall enter by the way of the porch of that gate without, shall stand by his post at the gate, and the priest shall prepare his burnt offering. So this saying that they would have the burning offering and the peace offering when the priests go to the altar. And The people will give an offer, a burnt offering, and a peace offering. That's when the doors will be open for them to prepare themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the people of the day shall worship that day, for that's when the offering, the gates for the offering will be open for them to have the Sabbath on the new moon.
Okay, when we talk about the gate, what's what gate to what?
Gate of the offering at the altar.
No, what's the gate opening towards?
We gave it temple.
No, I'm asking at the top. So what gate is this for?
Temple.
Right. So it says the 6 working days it shall be shut, but on the Sabbath it's going to be open, and new moon is going to be open. What's that?
That's the day that they worship on the Sabbath day, and the other days will be closed.
Right, the Sabbath day and the what? What other day?
And the new moon.
Right, exactly. So it's talking about the temple and the things we're bringing to the temple where the priest are at. Now, who's the prince? In this context, who's the prince talking about?
That's the priest.
Because the prince is going to the temple, going to the gate. The priests are already there.
Okay.
But who's that prince?
I don't know.
Do you know, Gabar, who's that prince talking about?
That's interesting. I thought it was princess. It was the prince. So enter by the way of the porch of that gate without.
Yeah,
And so stand by the post of the gate. The priest who prepared his burnt offerings. It sounds like Yahweh.
I guess technically it could be potentially if he, if he came as a man of Judah. But this prince, when you go into the law, go back to Numbers, read through Numbers. Each of the tribes had a prince or a chief.
Oh,
They represented the tribe.
Yeah,
come to the gate.
I was going to say that, but it says the prince. Like it's only one of them.
Like one prince.
If it said princess, then I'd have said that. But it says the prince.
Yeah, they said the prince.
Right, because going into what all the princes are supposed to do. It's saying the prince should do this, referring to that chief, the chief of whoever.
Oh, all the princes of the different
Why
tribes.
did it say the princess is more than one of them? You said it's 12 of them each tribe.
Right, but it's saying what each prince will do, each prince individually.
Oh, they're speaking of an example what each prince is supposed to do.
Right. And how it's going to be reinstituted, because in these visions that Ezekiel's having, he's seeing the temple set back up in its order, its righteous order. The 12 tribes know who they are again, and then being, arranged according to their families, the way they're supposed to. Not like now we don't know what family we come out of. Sometimes we don't even know what tribe.
So we're not going to all do this celebration in the same place. Is that what you're saying?
No, we're all going to go to Jerusalem in the temple. It's just going into the prince, the role of the prince of the chieftains of each tribe.
They're supposed to do a certain thing.
Right.
Each prince is self-represent for what he's responsible for.
For his respective tribe.
I still think it's a princess. Plural.
So it's similar, he's saying, and the prince shall enter by the way. Oh, okay, so where he's saying that prince shall enter by the way of the porch, that the gate without shall stand by his post and the gate. So it identifies as the prince, but what it means is each prince from each tribe for what each prince is supposed to do.
Right.
And you have to go in by the gate.
When you read above, it makes it clearer too. And you read actually in chapter 45, it says prince singular there too. This is going into what each of the princes are supposed to do. They go to the temple where the priests are.
Okay.
and they bring their offerings, their oblations.
So identify what each prince is supposed to do from each tribe when they
Right.
come into the gates.
Right. Real quick, you can just write down, let me see here. You go into the spies that spied out the land. You read Numbers 13. You see they had a certain prince or a chief from each tribe be set up to go and spy out the land of Canaan.
So number 13 and what?
The whole chapter, actually.
Oh, the whole chapter of Numbers?
Chapter 13. You can read that whole chapter where you'll see it goes into it.
Chapter.
Yeah, but don't it actually indicate of each tribe? It actually say of each tribe, though, don't it?
Yeah, it does.
It don't say of each tribe here, you see prince.
Well, it's understood.
How so?
Because you see princes being referred to in the scriptures, it means shar or chief.
Princes?
Right. Princes plural. It's talking about the many chiefs of the many tribes. Because
Because
each tribe has a prince or a chief.
Right, see, it symbolizes each prince what they're supposed to do.
Mhm.
But it's just saying prince, and they ain't saying princess or prince. They're saying prince identifies one prince, what he gonna do as being a prince of that tribe.
Right.
For each individual tribe. It's not saying prince, a whole lot of princes, but it's giving identification. That's what each prince is supposed to do for what they're supposed to do for each tribe.
That's right. That's the understanding.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't understand. But it's cool. We can move on. You know what I mean?
You said
I understand your explanation, but I still don't understand.
Okay, maybe this will help. Go to Numbers chapter 7 and go to verse 10. And read verse 10 and verse 11, just for an example.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And
What's that?
So call and read it.
Okay, go ahead and read.
Numbers chapter 7 and verse 10. And the princes offered for dedicating of the altar in the day that it was anointed.
Mm-hmm.
Even the princes offered their offerings before the altar.
See that? So that's the altar burnt offering, right? During the time we were in the wilderness, right? Princes, right?
Right.
Read verse 11.
Right.
And the Lord said unto Moses, they shall offer their offering each prince.
Mm.
Each prince, singular. See that?
Right.
Yeah, but it's still talking about a lot of them
Read on.
on his day for the dedicating of the altar.
Right. So that's all it's talking about. It's talking about the princes. And as you read down, each tribe, they name a particular prince or a chief of that respective tribe.
Yeah, when it's identifying that each prince got a certain job to do. You know, when they go through the offering.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at first it just said prince, but in that it did specify, gave you more information, let you know there's these are different princes from different tribes.
Right. So I read the verse 10, so you can see princes plural. So you're saying the right thing. It's right. It's more than one prince.
But it indicates that. Are you saying this is talking about the new moon land? Or it's talking about something else?
No, I'm using this to show how the Most High will have the chiefs offer offerings for the altar back in during the time of Numbers. Because everything you see here in Ezekiel going forward is supposed to be a reflection of what we have already set up before. We're just going into the future, and we have the temple set up. It's going to be in similar fashion as was a tabernacle before.
At that particular time.
Right. So it's easy to understand when you know what was written before time. You say, oh, okay, we did this before in the wilderness.
Now we're doing it again.
Right. But yeah, Numbers 13, actually Numbers 7. You can write because the whole chapter is like probably a really long chapter because it goes into all the different princes of the different tribes what they gave.
Oh, okay.
At this time.
So you just specified just what the different princesses supposed to have been doing for their offering.
Right,
And
but
out of the tribe.
right, but Numbers 7, 10, and 11, you can just link that with Ezekiel 46 and 2 when it says the prince. There's a question about who this prince is or what these princes represent. You could just use this as a reflection.
Ezekiel 46 and the one I read?
Yeah. 1 to 8, the whole thing is, but we just read 1 to 3 for time's sake. To talk about the new moon.
I put from 1 to 8.
Yeah.
That's specialized from 1 to 8. And we just read through. Okay.
All right, so I'm glad we got to do this exercise because I know you guys hear us talk. You guys hear us talk enough. I want to do this more so going forward as you get brothers more acclimated, because when we came back, we just read this not too long ago in the Apocrypha, right? Last Sabbath service about the children of Israel going back into the land, right?
Right.
And then what they had to do was this. I'm just going to read this verse before we do the closing prayer. Because the people had to be reminded of, okay, who we are, why do we fall, why did we go into captivity?
Right.
Now that we come out of captivity and we're back in the land, we had to do like a review
So we need
of the things that we forgot.
So we need to know that.
Right, and the best way to learn something is to teach it yourself, to bring out a concept. Like anything that we may have learned for work, right? We study it. We may have sat down in a class, but then we had to take a test. Sometimes that test might have been written form. Other times you might have had to demonstrate your knowledge on a set of equipment, right? To say, okay, go through the motions. So the scriptures are no different. That's why it says in Nehemiah chapter 8, in verse 8, going into when we were rebuilding the nation again, going back into Israel and rebuilding the temple, the people had to be rebuilt too, because we had been far away a long time. We were away with the Babylonians for 70 years, right? Persians came over, and then the Persians allowed us in waves to come back to the land again to rebuild it because the Most High was merciful. Remember, he told Jeremiah, yeah, for your transgression, 70 years. But once that 70 years is up, I'm going to now allow you to go back to the land again.
Okay. So that was a curse on us? And that's why it went down the way it did?
Remember in Deuteronomy 28, remember he said he sent a nation from afar, as swift as the eagle fly. How he will snatch us up. We know we had this happen to us in his last captivity, but it happened before him in past captivities. Right? For the same reason. We transgressed the law.
Right. Disobeyed.
Exactly. That's why Nehemiah 8 and 8 to rebuild the people, it says, so they read in the book, in the law of God distinctly, and gave the sense and caused them to understand the reading. So this is where we're different from other denominations that claim to follow Christ, claim to be Christian, because they'll sit down and listen to the pastor go back and forth, whereas we're here. This is a school, right? While it's a church, a gathering, we call it as a Bible school. We deal with Bible scholarship, right? Which is dealing with what the word is actually talking about, what the law actually means.
Showing the truth.
Explaining it, but then having others be able to explain it and demonstrate it too.
Right.
Even when we talk about keeping the new moon or keeping the Sabbath, things like that, we then have to demonstrate, okay, here's what we mean by it, and here's what we read, it explains.
Right.
Okay, don't do your own pleasure. Okay, don't buy and sell. Oh, okay, no cooking. Oh, okay, for whatever it is, Sabbath, new moon, Day of Atonement, whatever it may be.
Whatever it says.
Right. And we rehearse it. And, first go around, it's like, kind of weird, different. It's different from what you're used to because you grew up in Babylon, you grew up in captivity, you grew up learning other customs. That's where it's an exercise of practice.
Okay.
So even the teaching of it is a practice too. So we want to incorporate that more.
Okay.
As you read through your notes, that's why I say for everybody, and some of you have done this already, but everyone should bring one in. Everyone should have at least one solid soul, and all the souls you talk to during the week, find at least one solid soul that you can get rooted. in this word, right? And just you doing that is going to give you the exercise you need to when you come back to the class, come back to the high holy days. You can say, hey, brothers, I was talking to so-and-so about this, and this topic came up. I wasn't really sure how to address it. How would you explain it? You know, that's where it shows, okay, you actually are demonstrating what you learned. You're actually going through your notes and actually putting it to practice, because reading your notes is good, but sharing that knowledge with someone else so they can understand is something entirely different.
Right.
Live won't really click until you actually do that.
You have a better understanding when bring somebody in and study with that person.
Right. And at first, of course, you might reach out to myself or other Kahanian, if you need some help. But then after a while, it's just like you start dealing with the same milk topics over and over again. You're good to go. You say, oh, I don't even need Khan for that. I can explain this myself.
Right.
I know this one. Yeah, that right there. When you read this verse, see that? It means X, Y, Z. We all started the same way.
Right.
That's how it works, and we just keep it going. So yeah, Nehemiah 8 and 8. That's what's key. To give the sense and cause them to understand the reading, not just read a bunch of verses and sing songs. That's why our so-called brothers and sisters in the Christian church, the Catholic church, you'll ask them for what the sermon was, and they can tell you what the title of it was. But as far as the meaning,
they can't tell you the understanding of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, oh, it was good. So what knowledge was brought out? Well,
They can't specify.
we read, we read Jeremiah. Yeah, we read something in Jeremiah. Yeah, we read about the captivity, brother. Yeah, the captivity. Then we had a beast lecture from the choir.
Of course, man, that's the best of all.
Yeah.
They
had that music.
They remember that part.
Oh, they remember that.
We was jamming.
That's a heck of a song,
And black people could sing.
And nothing wrong with singing songs, but even the scriptures say, sing ye praises with understanding. They don't do that either.
They don't do that.
Oftentimes they singing songs, don't even know what they really mean.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they have part of the meaning. Sometimes the songs are good, but when you understand the truth, you're like, oh, okay, they're talking about faith. But I already know they're not really talking about the works with the faith. Or they're talking about, some Negro spiritual, right? They really don't know the meaning behind the swing low, sweet chariot, or the Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. They really don't know what was actually going on, that was actually them fighting that battle.
Right. But they symbolize it as singing, and they don't really identify themselves with it, but they just sing it.
Right.
Because they don't know what the strong meaning of it is.
Right.
They're just singing, think they're giving praises to Yahushua.
Or Jesus.
Jesus, yeah.
But not Jesus as far as a so-called black man that looks just like them. So we'll end here. But with that, we'll say Ashar Chadash, or Happy New Moon. Most as we will talk to everybody in the Friday class. And remember too, July 7th coming up, a couple Sabbaths from now, the Feast of First Fruits.
Right.
And just remember, the donation for that is $100 for the service, or whatever you can spare. So keep that in your radar. Even though it's a little under a month away, but just want to mention it.
Okay.
All right. So with that, we'll do the closing prayer.
Okay.
Shalom, Yashara, Laila Tuwa.
Shalom.
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 Parakapir Hawa ba Shimi Hawashai, Asharan, Zananao, Paya, Gapan, Tuara Aman. La Yahawa ba Shimi Hawashai, Af, Yashal. English translation, blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. Amadwa, Panyawai Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Yahweh Basham Yahushai Babakushai Shemai Lanawe Aitha Yam Yen Aitha Shalak Mike Allah Waha Allahayim Tazwadakim La Shemar Ayo Barak Rapha Magan Wa Chazayak Banya Yasha'ala Washalak Lanawa Rabian Kakamad Rabian Ta'ait Rabian Bayanad Rabian Sabalanwat Rabian Amawan Rabian Aqua Rabian Ahabian Rabian Haganad Rachanaya Wasalak Ko Katayanawa La Akyam Wa Akua Wayash'ala Tham Yed Waiwalam Basham Yahawashai Fawadab Amen. English translation, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please listen to us now, right now. Send Mike on the righteous powers to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive all our sins. For the brothers, sisters in Israel, always and forever, in the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Four Corners Prayer. Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai Barak Nawe Wayash'aleh Wabat Yasapariam Shema Yashiraleh Yahweh Elohai Nawe Yahweh Akhe. English translation, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless us in Israel and the house of books. And then we said, Hero of Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And then prayer for the food. Yahweh Gadawo Basham Gadawanya Yahweh Shai Babakushai Barak Mako Yanawa Shatayawa Yanawa Yayan Yanawa Lacham Yanawa Shakara Yanawa Zakhar Shah HaKadosh Basham Yahweh Shai Fawada Amen. Okay, so Ashar Kadash, everybody. Have a blessed day. Try to stay in the spirit as much as possible. If you have to work, right? Just apply grace. And we'll talk to you in the next class. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.